Welcome to Donington Park and our first racing action of the weekend for the Vertex Caterham 7 UK Championship, which makes a welcome return to the British GT package. We've had them on and off racing with us at British GT over the years. Nice to have them back again here at Donington Park, a circuit that produces always, without fail, classic Caterham racing action. So I'm bigging them up for a reason, because I'm really confident this could be the race of the day. Caterham racing really thrives on fast flowing circuits with lots of space, lots of long flat out sections for slipstreaming, and that's exactly what we've got here at Donington. And then you throw in that final sector where there are plenty of opportunities for some dive bombs into the hairpins, and you guarantee yourself some pretty thrilling racing. It is the first race of the weekend for the Caterhams. They will have a further two tomorrow, 20 minutes the duration, and they had their qualifying sessions, plural, earlier on today. They have a general qualifying session, then they have a Super Pole session, which the quickest drivers get through into. At the end of all of that, it was Paul Donkin who set the fastest time and qualified on pole position. It always makes me chuckle that they have this really long-winded sort of knockout qualifying system with the standalone Super Pole session for a series where, honestly, where you start the race doesn't really matter, because you can start 25th and still come through to get onto the podium, as we've seen plenty of times before. But you always really exciting races, quite strategic, quite tactical as well, actually, when it gets down to it at the end. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here. It is Paul Donkin, a Pro-Am driver, who set the fastest time earlier on this morning. Harry Senior, one of the AMs, alongside him for PT Motorsport. Then Ian Payne and William Smith, who share row number 2. Third row of the grid then for Matt Armstrong and Tim Dickens. And then row number 4 shared by Ben Simmons and Charlie Lauer. Top 10 completed by Matt Dyer and Oliver Smith, a pair of AM drivers. And then row 6, Lewis Thompson and Angus McLean. 7th row for Mike Evans and Tom Eden. On the 8th row of the grid, Wes Payne and Justin Armstrong. And then towards the back, row 9, Cameron Cooper and Chris Fraser, all of these now AM drivers really at the back, with Carl Jones and Gary Curtis on row 10, and row 11, all on his own, should be Rupert Laslett. So 21 cars then on track. The 7 UK Championship is sort of the pinnacle, really, of Caterham racing, and they've had a handful of races so far already this year, and it is Lewis Thompson, car number 1, that leads the points. He's on 62.5 points, which is 2 points clear of William Smith, car number 27, who is a further 5 points clear of that man that starts on pole position, Paul Donkin. So cars 1, 27 and 24, the top 3 in the championship, but actually Harry Senior, the top AM driver, 4th in the points, only a further 3 points back as well. So those are the 4 really you'd expect to see near the front, but we will see lots of drivers near the front and probably some pretty close finishes. Actually, the Caterham 7 Championships all went away to race at Zandvoort a few weeks ago. They had 11 races over the course of the weekend across the various different categories, and at the end of those 11 races, the combined winning margin, so the margin of victory in all of those 11 races added together, equaled less than 7/10 of a second. That's combined over 11 races. Most of the races were decided by thousandths of a second in side-by-side photo finishes. Now, Donington Park's Grand Prix circuit, perhaps a little bit less likely to give us a proper photo finish, but I think we could well have some races that go right down to the final couple of corners, because you should normally get this lead pack of cars that all sort of squabble for position throughout the race, and then it's really whoever makes the most successful run through the final few corners on the last lap that should come home a winner. But we've seen it all over the years in Caterham racing, and I wouldn't be surprised if something else happens that surprises us this weekend across the 3 races. So pole position then, Paul Donkin. Alongside him, Harry Senior. Donkin, the red and white car. Senior, the darker coloured car starting to the inside of that front row, the dark back, the blue front with the red roll cage. Who is going to get the whole shot? Who's going to lead them into Redgate Corner? And will that matter one bit? Probably not, but it'll be exciting to see who gets into that first corner first, regardless. Bit of a wait here to get the red lights on, which they do now go on. They go out now, and we are racing in the Vertex Caterham 7 UK Championship at Donington Park, and it is a good start made by Paul Donkin. Not a great start. Actually, it wasn't a bad start in the end for Harry Senior. He's going to hold second place into Redgate Corner. Around the outside there goes the number 27 machine of William Smith. He holds third, or does he? He's actually still side by side, I think, isn't he, with another car as they drop downhill through the crane of curves. But yeah, Will Smith does get the better of that battle and holds on to third. So it's grid order for now at the front as they drop down through the old hairpin for the first time. But It's really important just to stay out of trouble in the early stages. You don't need, really, to be right at the front of the pack. But Harry Senior wants to be at the front of the pack and was pulling out of the slipstream there towards McLean's. Bit of wheel banging going on further back there towards the back end of the top half dozen, I reckon that was. But they're all still there as they arrive at McLean's and head up towards the right-hander at Coppice Corner, blind right-hander that leads you onto this long exhibition straight past the exhibition centre. One car in the gravel. Did they gather it together? Just about. Who was it is the real question. Well, they've fallen right to the back of the pack. We'll get to that in a moment, though, because as I was about to say, that slipstream down the back straight makes it the best place to try and overtake. They were briefly 3 wide for the lead, and Harry Senior came out of that on top. So Harry Senior through to the lead of the race. A few people having to check up further back in the pack, including Chris Fraser in the number 8. Paul Donkin not happy with losing the lead, dives straight back up the inside and reclaims it at the hairpin, or does he? He ran wide on the exit. Harry Senior got the better run up the hill, and he's got back through again into Goddard, snatches a break but makes the corner. So I make that 3 lead changes in the first lap alone, and an official lead change at the line, because it was Donkin who started from pole. It is Senior who will lead them across the line and towards Redgate for the second time of asking. Single file for the top 7, which means the first side-by-side battle is for 8th. That's Charlie Lauer on the inside. Around the outside was trying to go the number 19 of Armstrong. And Matt Armstrong, who started 5th, has dropped down a few positions, actually, now. That's brought into the fray Matt Dyer in the number 9 car. But what you don't want to do, really, if you're at the back of the top 10, is start squabbling unnecessarily over 10th place, for example, because if you lose the slipstream to the cars ahead, like we saw in the Ginetta Juniors earlier on, it can be very difficult to get that time back. So you need to just try and stay in the lead group, pick your moments, choose your battles, and only go for a move if you're pretty confident you're going to make it stick. Car, by the way, that I think went off up at Coppice was the number 64 of Tom Eden. He dropped 7 positions down to 21st at the end of the opening lap. Here comes the run down the back straight, though. Donkin to the outside of Senior. Late on the brakes, but not late enough. So Harry Senior actually hanging on here, the AM-class leader, but leading the race overall. And he will be very happy about that. Oh, bit of contact further back, rattling over the curbs goes the number 11 of Carl Jones. Did really well to keep out of the tyres, and there's carnage down at the hairpin. Around goes the 32, and he collects Harry Senior. That is Ian Payne, who lost control on the way into the Melbourne hairpin, and poor Harry Senior, who moments ago had been leading the race, gets absolutely sideswiped. Big contact between the two of them, and that will almost certainly now require a safety car, because we've got at least 1 car that's going no further, probably 2. And Harry Senior's car stuck in the middle of the road. Donkin survives that with the race lead, though. It is 2nd position now for William Smith. 3rd is Thompson, the number 1 car, who started 11th, Lewis Thompson, up into 3rd place through all of that. Tim Dickens is 4th, and Matt Armstrong is 5th. So that has really wiped out a chunk of the front-running group. But unsurprisingly, we are going safety car. That is exactly what I expected to see, with at least 1 car, possibly 2. Lots of bits of bodywork all across the road down at the Melbourne hairpin. What triggered all of that, I'm not entirely sure. That's the number 11 of Jones going through, probably under yellow flags. Both drivers out of the cars, that's good news. You can see there Harry Senior sort of chatting to the marshals as they push his car out of the way, but the safety car's been scrambled. Some drivers haven't realised, though, and there's quite a bit of overtaking going on further back there. That will get looked at afterwards, and now contact, and that's the last thing that you want to see behind the safety car. The 61 car going slowly and has been rear-ended by another car, hasn't it? The 61 sort of triggering all of that by slowing down more quickly than those around, and it's the 93 of Mike Evans that gets into the back of them. 61 was Angus McLean, so McLean slowed for the safety car, and I just don't think that Mike Evans realised what was going on, but having been under yellow flags for half a lap, he probably should have done. Anyway, there are a couple of cars walking wounded, smoke billowing from behind them as they head down onto the Grand Prix loop. This is going to take a bit of clearing up, though, because the 32 car of Ian Payne, with that damage to the left front, is not going to be easy to remove. They've got Senior's car out of the way quite quickly, but that will require a flatbed truck, I think, to get Payne's car out of the way. But I'd be interested to see the build-up to that. We caught the end of it after Payne had already lost control, but what made him lose control, I'm not really sure. It is that part of the track, though, isn't it, where it's all very wide, everyone's going for a move, and if you sort of jink to the left as someone else jinks to the right, it's easy to tangle wheels in Caterhams and start off a chain reaction like that. Shame that it had to happen so early in the race, though, because it means now the middle part of this race is going to be mostly spent behind safety car. Hopefully we'll get the second half of the race under green flag conditions, though, because that's what we want to see. There is the damaged number 61 car heading back to the pit lane of Angus McLean, one who had contact from behind. See the damage done to the right rear bodywork, but it's the suspension and the exhaust that the teams will be most interested in. So Paul Donkin leads the way with Will Smith second. Third position then for Lewis Thompson. Fourth is Tim Dickens. Fifth is Matt Armstrong. And sixth for Charlie Lauer. All of them Pro-Ams. The best Am now, with the demise of Harry Senior, is the number 23 of... we'll get to that in a moment. Here's the replay. Oh, look at that. He goes into the back of 49, I think that is, of Ben Simmons. So Ian Payne over the back wheel of Ben Simmons, and just nothing he could do then to stop the car. And Harry Senior, unfortunately, right in the way. This was what happened when the safety car came out. So you're going to get one car slowing and another not slowing. Contact made, and that's done the radiator, I think, hasn't it, on the 93 of Mike Evans. And as we saw, Angus McLean having to limp back to the pit lane with damage as well. So that, in a way, is more unfortunate than the accident down at the Melbourne hairpin, because that all happened on the safety car. I know they weren't following the safety car, but the safety car boards were out. There is the damage to the back of McLean's car. And I think, they've decided he's going no further. He's out of the car. Just discussing with the team the after effects of the contact, I think. And any potential damage that may have done, but quite clearly they're not going to get him back out on track. There is Ian Payne's car. So Payne's car almost out of the way. They've not had to put it on a flatbed. They're just sort of hoiking it out of the way with the live snatch vehicle, which means we should go racing next time. It's not quite out of the way now, but by the time they next get round to that part of the track, it should be clear. So I reckon we're going to get the bulk of the second half of the race in here, barring any further incidents, of course. But Paul Donkin will be very grateful, actually, that he was back in the lead there, because he and Harry Senior had traded the lead, as we'd seen a few times. There is Harry Senior's... sorry, that's McLean's car, actually, in the pit lane, isn't it? But they traded the lead a few times, and had it been Donkin in second place, he would have been the one in the firing line of Ian Payne. As it was Donkin's in the lead and Senior in second, and it's the look of the draw sometimes, isn't it, as to where you are when it all goes wrong. And if you happen to be in the right place at the right time, you can survive and maybe go on to win the race. But unfortunately for Harry Senior, that's not the case. He's out. Hopefully we'll see him back out again in races 2 and 3 tomorrow. So the field being led round then by the safety car. And down through the old hairpin they come. We've got how many still running then? 16 of the 21 starters still running. So we've lost McLean and Evans with their little contact up at Coppice. We lost Ian Payne and Harry Senior in the incident at the Melbourne hairpin. So the one that's not accounted for is Wes Payne. He's in the pit lane in number 50, and I don't know why. I don't recall seeing him pulling into the pit lane. He did so at the end of lap number 2, so he did a lap and then pulled into a tyre. Oh, who was that then? There was a car. Did I just spot a car down the escape road on the way up the hill? Maybe I'm dreaming that. Maybe I just glanced up at the screen at the wrong moment, maybe, but it looked like there was a car disappearing down the escape road. But let's see. Hopefully everyone comes through at the end of Sector 2. No, we have lost someone. We've lost the number 9, Matt Dyer. I'm very sorry for Matt, but I'm also quite grateful that that means I wasn't seeing things. Matt Dyer, I think, has pulled off into the escape road out of McLean's. So that must be a mechanical issue behind the safety car, which is now headed back for the pit lane, but we've lost another one now, sadly. Dyer was second of the Am drivers as well, so a class victory could have been in the offing for him, but he's not going to take the restart. So never came through at the end of Sector 2, so that leaves us with 15 cars still circulating, and Paul Donkin will execute, he hopes, a perfect restart. I've not quite figured out who this smoky car is further back there. Can we feel that's 49, isn't it? Yeah, that makes sense. And that is Ben Simmons, who was the launching pad for Ian Payne down at Melbourne when it all kicked off. But anyway, we're back to racing again, and slightly depleted field, but I'm sure we'll still see some really good racing from them. as already that was the number 23 of Armstrong trying to find a way past Charlie Lauer. Armstrong is running for Team Parker Racing, well-known GT outfit. He's the AM-class leader at the moment. As for the overall race lead, Will Smith tries to get himself ahead of Paul Donkin, who's proven to be a difficult man to kick down. And he holds on to the lead for now, but that defensive line into the old hairpin means he's slow on the exit. And as they head uphill, Will Smith has the inside line. He's bringing with him the number 1 of Lewis Thompson. Remember, that green car of Lewis Thompson started 11th on the grid, picked his way through the carnage, and is now up there battling for the race lead. He too will get past Paul Donkin. And is there room maybe for Tim Dickens to do the same? I think there might be. Dickens on the inside. Donkin bravely toughs it out around the outside and hangs on to 3rd position. Down the back straight then, it's now the turn of Thompson to use the slipstream against Will Smith to try and go through. He pulls level on the outside line into the chicane. He is later on the brakes. He turns across the bows of Will Smith and he seizes the advantage as they head through the chicane. That is 3 different leaders in this lap, and we've still got 2 corners to go. Will Smith, though, for now, preoccupied, I think, with defending from Paul Donkin, moving around in the background there in the braking zone. That's the kind of thing that can cause contact. That was Charlie Lauer, number 12, and he's back now ahead of Armstrong as they make their way towards Goddard's for the 6th time of asking. Back up the inside goes the number 19 of Armstrong then. So Lauer had got past him, but then Matt Armstrong, seizes the place back again at the next corner. Across the line we go. Top 4 making a small breakaway then, with now car number 1, Lewis Thompson, out in front. The championship leader, remember, by 2 points over Will Smith. So a significant battle that between the two of them. I know it's early in the championship, but when you're this close to another driver in points, every race is significant. And Will Smith knows that. He goes back through again on the run down the Craner curves. And Will Smith and Lewis Thompson, I think, likely to keep on trading the lead here, really. The question is whether or not Paul Donkin can come back at them. Here comes Thompson out of the slipstream, and Donkin can come back at them, makes it 3 abreast through Schwantz curve. That was really brave stuff from Paul Donkin, but he had the run, he had the slipstream, he had the momentum, and now he has the race lead again. And just like that, Thompson, who led half a lap ago, is back down to 4th position. So Thompson demonstrating there how quickly and easily things can unravel for you. Now he's got to try and somehow find a way back ahead of the 3 cars ahead, who themselves, of course, are busy battling for the lead. Will Smith lost the lead down here a lap ago. This time he's the one on the attack and sweeps around the outside of Paul Donkin into the Fogarty S's. 7 minutes of the race still to go, with 2/3 race distance then. These 4 separating themselves out in front. They're doing quite a good job, really, of battling without losing too much time, although Will Smith defending into the Melbourne hairpin, that will lose them a bit more time. And look, just like that, Armstrong, Lauer and Armstrong are all back with them again. So by the end of the lap, it could be 7 for the lead. But will it be car 27 leading the race then through the left-hander at Goddard's, and he's going to show Donkin the edge of the road. Donkin on the dirty side of the track, loses traction anyway, and that means that he's now got Dickens alongside him and Thompson getting the run on the pair of them. They blast past my commentary position at the end of the pit lane. A brilliant sight and sound they make, and Timothy Dickens round the outside into Redgate and does manage to pick up the place. Tim Dickens then from 6th on the grid into 2nd place now. I think this is the highest we've seen Tim so far in this race. Can he go one better and find a way past Will Smith, who more often than not has been found in the race lead, hasn't he? He seems to be the driver leading more of the race, but it's not how much of the race you lead, it's whether you can lead at the crucial moment. The points are only handed out at the end of the 20 minutes. Tim Dickens now goes to the front, around the outside at McLean's. I tell you what, the spectators who have stuck around to the end of oh my word, a big bit of, that was one of the wheel arches there that's been left on the track right on the racing line. I'm surprised that didn't get moved by the marshals, and Tim Dickens ran straight over it. Hopefully that's not damaged his car. Here comes Donkin to the outside, 3 abreast into the chicane. Who's going to back out of it? None of them, I think, is the answer, but it is Will Smith that goes through into the lead again. Dickens 2nd, Donkin 3rd, and who's that? That's one of the Armstrongs now, I think, isn't it? Into 4th place, yeah, number 19, Matt Armstrong into 4th. But under threat as up the inside of the wall tries to go Justin Armstrong, and might just make that stick. All of a sudden, Lewis Thompson's race is unravelling, isn't it? He's all the way down to 6th position, is that now, as they head for Goddard's and the completion of lap number 8. As I started to say, all of the spectators who have stuck around to the end of the day are being rewarded, aren't they? There are a smattering of people still here at Donington Park, not choosing to head off early. And rightly so, because this is developing into the race of the weekend so far. How will it end in 4 3/4 minutes time, I wonder? out of Redgate Corner. Will Smith, though, continuing to lead. He's the only driver that seems able to stay in front for consecutive laps. He might lose the lead partway round the lap, but he's always back in front again by the time they get to the line. That really is the winning tactic, isn't it? You don't mind losing the lead here on the last lap as long as you get it back by the end of the lap. And you could argue, actually, being in the lead at this point on the final lap is not a bad place to be, because you might lose the lead, as he has done there at McLean's, but then that gives you half a lap to get it back. And with that run down the back straight and the slipstream that presents itself, that could be an opportunity to get back in front. Although now we'll see whether Will Smith can go from third to first. We've seen it done already in this race a couple of times. You see Tim Dickens there weaving around, trying to break the toe, trying to stop that from happening. And you can see that does work to some extent, but they're still going to be almost 3 abreast into the braking zone. Donkin, in the end, sails back through. Hops and skips over the curbs. That means Dickens perhaps has half a chance to attack again into the Melbourne hairpin, but is shown only the outside line. Lewis Thompson in the background going up the inside of Justin Armstrong to try and gain a position again as they drop down through the Melbourne hairpin. Justin Armstrong started 16th, so you got Lewis Thompson who started 11th and Justin Armstrong who started 16th, and they're both battling for positions within the top half dozen, albeit not as far up the order as they would like to be, really. Certainly for Thompson, having led this race earlier on. The snake of Caterham's weaving its way down towards Redgate Corner, but that weaving, it does work, because normally you'd see the cars side by side by the time they reach the end of the straight, but by weaving around there, Paul Donkin just breaks up the momentum of the cars behind, and it means he stays in front into Redgate Corner, but they're all back with him again by the time they reach the old hairpin. Side by side for 5th in the background, that's Thompson back ahead of Armstrong, and these two keep on trading that 5th position, which is very entertaining, but it's losing them time. The top 4 definitely getting away now. Are we going to see Justin Armstrong just nestle in behind Thompson for a lap here and try and bridge the gap to the leaders once again, who themselves are battling, but Donkin fending off Tim Dickens again. They're all still in the same order, actually, that they started the lap, which is strange. I'm sure it won't last, because we're about to head down the back straight, where inevitably we will have positional changes. Here we go, Dickens with the better run off the corner, but did he pull out of the slipstream too early there? I think he might have done, and actually it's William Smith who's going to have the best run of them all, and he goes up the inside of the pair of them, bringing with him Matt Armstrong, who collides with Tim Dickens. Around goes Dickens, bosh, into the tyre stack, and Tim Dickens' race unfortunately comes to an end. He is stuck in the gravel trap. I don't think he expected Armstrong to be there, and contact made, and unfortunately it's Tim Dickens, who had just sort of asserted himself as a genuine threat in this race, who ends up deposited in the gravel trap. Now 2 minutes to go, time for 2 more laps, but will they choose to throw an early checker here? Because they've got a car in a dangerous position that would normally require a safety car. Hand out of the cockpit, red flag, race being stopped, and that will be it, I think, with 1 minute and 3/4 to go. I doubt we will get a restart. That is a shame, because I wanted to see that typically sort of frenetic conclusion to the race, which we are going to be sadly robbed of now, but the right decision made, really. They would have had to have, at the very least, thrown a safety car. And with only time for 2 more laps anyway, that would have been the race done. So I'd imagine this will be a fairly quick call by race control to send the cars back to the paddock. Shame, because, like I said, it means we don't get to see the proper conclusion of that race. But Will Smith was leading at the line and at the time of the red flag, but of course the results would go back a lap, wouldn't they? So I think Paul Donkin would be classified as the race winner if a race is declared. We are running ahead of time, I think, slightly, so they could choose to give us a 2-lap restart. That'd be entertaining. Marshals are jogging down, or a marshal is jogging down to the front of the grid, perhaps with a message from race control. Nothing yet showing on the timing tower, or on the timing screen, I should say. We'll see where this marshal waves or if they wave the drivers away. If they wave them on, that means more than likely this is not going to be restarted. Let's see. Well, no instruction given just yet, so they obviously haven't decided up in race control, which means they are considering possibly restarting it. No, checkered flag is out, so that is a race finish then. The checkered flag is out, and the drivers are being waved there. You can see into the pit lane entry. They will go the wrong way up the pit lane and into the paddock that way, so that is a shame. Now, Will Smith has now been moved to the top of the timing tower, but I'm pretty sure Paul Donkin will be the race winner, because Donkin was leading a lap ago. Those results, like I said, should go back. Well, now, was he leading? Yes, he was leading a lap ago. He just got ahead of Will Smith, as I was making the point that Will Smith, more often than not, was the man leading at the line every lap. Well, actually, Paul Donkin was. This is the moment, so there you can see Matt Armstrong steaming up the inside of everybody. And I don't think Tim Dickens knew that he was coming because he was blindsided by Paul Donkin's car there. Look, Armstrong realises too late that he's on a collision course. Locks the brake, nothing he can do. Bodywork goes flying, and Tim Dickens knows at this point that he's headed for the tyre stack, which is there to stop them exceeding track limits, but actually in this situation did a good job of stopping Dickens' car from bouncing back into the middle of the road. And not too much damage done, hopefully, to the back of the car. Tim Dickens, I'm sure, will be back out again tomorrow. So, bit of an anticlimax in the end, although it was a good battle right until the moment that it all went wrong down at the chicane. Well, our result says Will Smith is the winner. I'm going to definitely preface this with the word provisionally, with Paul Donkin second and Matt Armstrong on the podium, then Justin Armstrong the leading AM. I think that should be the case. Justin Armstrong should get the AM win ahead of Lewis Thompson, Ben Simmons, Charlie Lauer, Carl Jones, Cameron Cooper and Chris Fraser, with Oliver Smith, Tom Eden, Gary Curtis, Rupert Laslett, the last of the finishers, Matt Dyer, Angus McLean, Mike Evans, Wes Payne, Harry Senior and Ian Payne, all not running at the flag for one reason or another, nor, of course, was the luckless Tim Dickens, who had driven a really good race up until that point, but unfortunately his race ends in the gravel at the chicane. So Will Smith then, perhaps the winner. The timing screen is showing him as the winner, but I'm pretty sure it was Donkin who was leading the lap before. So head over maybe to the Caterham 7 UK Championship social media pages, because they'll have an update in the next half hour or so, I'm sure, about what the official result is. And be sure to tune in tomorrow to the next couple of races. They will race twice more tomorrow, first at just about 11 o'clock and again just before 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So the Vertex Caterham 7 UK Championship got off to a dramatic start here at Donington Park, their first of 3 races. It was a fairly, by Caterham standards, calm and orderly run through the first couple of corners. Sadly, that would not last long. There was a real battle at the front forming, with Will Smith trying to get the better of Harry Senior and Paul Donkin. It was the latter two of those who continued to trade the lead, and it was Paul Donkin moving into the lead at the hairpin just as there was contact further back. Ian Payne went over the back of Ben Simmons' car and clattered into the side of the erstwhile race leader, Harry Senior. Both drivers were out on the spot. The safety car was scrambled, but some drivers got the message sooner than others, and Mike Evans ended up running into the back of Angus McLean's car, taking them both out of the race. Eventually, the race got back underway again with Paul Donkin in control, although no driver really was able to stay in control for too long during the course of the race, as he, Will Smith, Lewis Thompson, Tim Dickens and others would trade the lead positions over the middle portion of the race. There were 2 real overtaking hotspots. One was up here at McLean's, the other down at the chicane, and it didn't really seem to matter whether you went to the inside or the outside. If you had the momentum and the space, you could make the move. Championship leader Lewis Thompson did manage to get himself into the lead, having started 11th on the grid. Justin Armstrong also became a part of this battle, having started even further back in 16th. Donkin made an impressive 3-wide pass using the slipstream on the run towards McLean's corner, but it all went wrong down at the chicane in the end as Matt Armstrong got up the inside and clattered into Tim Dickens. Tim was deposited into the gravel, and that brought about an early race finish in our first race of the weekend at Donington.